all the things. You have access to all the things. Now, I've also completely forgotten. We have some new faces, I think, that we haven't seen before. I'm seeing nodding heads. If you feel comfortable, did you want to introduce yourself? We can do a round of intros.
Yeah, can do. I'm Giles. I work for Cisco. We came across Quilkin a few weeks ago, and the project I'm working on at the moment, looking at kind of real-time, almost like service mesh type stuff in Kubernetes, but for real-time apps. And I was like, Quilkin looks like it could be helpful. So we're sort of thinking of, my colleague Nikos might join in a moment, we're sort of thinking of maybe creating a new filter for Quilkin to our nefarious ends. And that's like, I guess we'd be interested to find out is what's the kind of policy on upstreaming new filters and that kind of stuff. Because I know you're very focused on gaming, and this isn't for gaming per se. So.
And hi everyone, I'm Gabe. I work at Google. Previously, I worked at Stadia Games and Entertainment within Google. We were making games for the Stadia platform. That's how I got kind of in contact with Quilkin at first. I find the project super interesting. I'm still at Google, but in a different PA now, but still working with game technologies, I would say.
Awesome.
Cool. Are you running the show, or am I running the show?
I was going to say, I don't either way.
Are you awake yet?
I am. I didn't know if you wanted to say anything, introduce yourself.
Oh, that works too.
Luna, or
yeah. No, go for it.
Yeah, I think we should do. I think we should do a round, and I can
I like
start.
that
I'm
idea.
happy to.
That sounds good. I'm also not
So,
awake.
hi everyone. Giles, Gabe, nice to meet you. I'm Luna. I work at Embark Studios. Quilkin originally started in Mark's Twitch chat channel with me ranting at him how we needed this thing, how it wasn't cool that only Steam and a few other major studios had something like this. So that's how we got started. Since then, I haven't done much development on Quilkin. Rather, I'm the tech lead for the team at Embark that is working on Quilkin, of which Ifeanyi and Erin are part. And I try and more like give product level stuff of I want to be able to do this and that, and I let Ifeanyi and Erin, who are both amazing engineers, just fill that in because they're good at what they do.
Luna, are you a PM? Is that what I'm hearing? Am I hearing that you're a PM?
Oh God, no. I still do a lot of coding, and I spend most of my time working on stuff, but most of my time is spent doing either C++, Rust, or Go, but I've just had other stuff to work on for the past year. Then amusing anecdote, Mark, I'm in fact getting someone to help me do the actual PMing bit of my job, who got hired 2 weeks ago and who's slowly ramping up. So yeah, I'll be doing less PM work going forward, hopefully, rather than more. That's me. Mark, you can go next.
We're doing the pass the baton style. That works. Excellent. Hi, I'm Mark. I'm a developer advocate. I tend to lead the developer relations team for gaming at Google Cloud. Yes, Luna and I had this wacky idea over a year ago for this in a Twitch stream that I was doing. So that was been fun. Yes, but one of the founders on Agonez and started a lot of the initial code on Quilkin, but I think Ifeanyi and Erin have written a lot of it, rewritten a lot of it. These days, I seem to be focusing on our build system and CI tools, which is fine, and it's lots of fun. So that's all good fun. So yeah, just doing stuff. So it's me. I'll hand over to Ifeanyi.
Sure. Yeah. So I'm Ifeanyi. I work as a developer on the same team as Luna and Erin. We work at Embark, and mostly I've been helping out with just code, PR reviews, things like that. Helping out around the team. Yep. And maybe Erin can go next.
Sure. Hello, everyone. My name is Aaron Purr. I work as an open source engineer at Embark Studios. The project I currently work on is Quilkin, but I've worked on a bunch of open source projects, like including Rust GPU and like Rust itself. So yeah, that's me. I think that leaves Marcus.
Yeah, so I'm Marcus. I work as an infrastructure architect at Embark. I'm probably like the other side of Luna in the requirements and defining requirements and how we should use Quilkin at Embark, but rather from a network and infrastructure side rather than a game side. So that's me.
And I'm April. I work in the Google Open Source Programs Office, and I am partner in crime with Mark on all of our gaming open source, and also work on our cloud native open source. So, Giles, I'm glad that you're here, because I did tell Mark that Quilkin was going to be quite interesting to a lot of folks in the cloud native space beyond just gaming. So.
On that note, Giles, I would love to hear more about what kind of filter you want to write and what exactly you're planning there. Seems super interesting.
Let's add an agenda items for Giles here. I'm adding you. I'm volunteering you, Giles.
Yeah, volunteer away. I should probably be really annoying and do the how to say my name bit. So it's Giles.
Soft J, sorry.
Being of an English persuasion, anyone who's got any French in them would know the name's kind of the same, but our version thereof. And my colleague may be joining us. I don't know if he was trying to join. Nikos. He's interesting to listen to you guys. I guess I'm the infrastructure network part of our side of things. Yes, Giles as in Buffy. That's the one.
That might be how I
Totally
pronounce it.
I'm gonna remember that one.
Yeah, that the guy who was Giles in Buffy was one half of this really famous. I'm diverting a bit here. Really famous series of instant coffee adverts for Nestle Gold Blend here decades ago. It was one of those will they, won't they with a couple.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. Hopefully people remember that one. Yeah. So I'm more the infrastructure networking kind of person, and Nikos is our is more the software developer. Though it may be I end up doing more of the work on Quilkin just because it's data plane, and we have plenty we need to do on control plane as well. So
awesome. Yeah, and if anyone else has anything they want to add to the agenda, please feel free. I just threw some stuff down that I thought might be interesting and give it a starting point and move on from there.
All
right, I'll take
you start.
Let's start do things. So according to our release schedule, we said that we would get together every month and say, hey, should we cut a release? So should we cut a release? Initial review from when I was going through it, I think since a month ago, we've had some API changes that are quite nice, and some updated documentation. I'm trying to work out if we had any specific things that are either blocking or stopping us from doing that. I think the only thing that I came across. Sorry, go ahead, Aaron.
Yeah, well, I was looking at this earlier. Initially, I didn't think there was much to release, like, because there isn't a lot of binary features. There is kind of only library changes. But if people are writing, if someone is saying, hey, I'm writing a filter, they would probably want those changes.
Yeah, I would agree with that. I think the only thing I came across that might be blocking, and again, it's a big might, is that I think the writing custom filters documentation had a couple of things that were old in it. But I don't know whether we want to stop on that. I found something when I was going through it.
Because it depends on how soon we want to release. Because if it's not immediately, we can fix that tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, then we could should I write a ticket and then make a milestone and all right, let's do that. I like that idea.
So if we do an release, do you want to say like this time next week, or what do people think?
I actually don't mind on timing. I'll tell you what. My theory was, do we want to just create a milestone, track anything that we think needs to be fixed before then? I think that's the only thing I could come up with. And then once those are complete, I'll just be like, hey, I'll set a release ticket and we'll just do it.
So
Yeah, releases only take like half an hour. It's not an onerous process. All right, let me do that now.
You know that's famous last words, right? You've jinxed it now, so it'll take.
One of us can.
There's going to be at least 165 blocker issues now.
Right. Broke it.
Yeah.
Way to go. Yeah.
Yep. That's accurate. We'll probably find other stuff after the release, but I think that's fine. All right. Let me here. Actually, I'm going to make an action at the moment because here we go. All right. Create a milestone.
Oh, you're getting fancy.
It's add things. So just in Discord. I'm good.
Regarding upstreaming custom filters, my take on it, Giles, is pretty simple. Unless it's incredibly obscure and has like a super weird dependency chain or is hard to compile or something along those lines, I see no issues. Let's just upstream it. If it is super obscure or has some weird dependency, I don't know what you're making yet, so it's hard to say. But like in that case, I'd say let's evaluate if it's worth it and worth the maintenance burden. But that's about really my only caveat I have to upstreaming things.
Yeah, I can probably explain what we're planning to do. In fact, initially we were thinking of modifying the existing load balancer filter. What it is we want to be able to effectively route UDP flows to specific endpoints based on the source address. So, for example, imagine we're here on meet.google.com and there was some problem with Google's peering with British Telecom in London. And so Google had an edge proxy and they wanted to, say, route that traffic to another POP. Then the edge proxy could divert it based on, would look up my source address and say, oh, that person's on, name of whichever ISP it was, British Telecom, Virgin, whoever, and would say, well, we know we've got a peering issue with that ISP. Let's try and redirect them. Those sort of things. Now that's a bit tricky in that the packet's already arrived at the edge proxy at that point. So yeah, I guess there's only a subset of cases you can solve with that. But you could, I guess imagine other cases where being able to pick your endpoint based on the source IP could be quite handy. And so what we were thinking is probably do kind of a 5-tuple lookup based on the the flow, and then use that to route packets rather than doing a round robin or a random. And so, as I say, initially you looked at changing the existing load balancer filter, but there is stuff there that would have to change. I mean, for example, the filter only takes it doesn't. I was looking at the code, the sort of context for the packet. That 5-tuple info doesn't make it into that filter, for example, in terms of the trait that's defined. So another reason, I guess, to have a new filter for it.
What was I
think
say?
it's pretty straightforward. It's just an API call to some external Go code we'll have that will do the work effectively.
I think I would say write up a design ticket and let's see what it looks like. We can iterate on it.
Okay.
I'm just so when you say there's something that's not there, what's not there?
Oh, sorry. Just when I looked at the code, the existing load balancer filter, you don't, there's all that information you have, remembering it from my shocking memory. You have kind of like a context for the flow.
Yep.
And one of the things in the context is the effectively the client IP and port or whatever, and that does not get passed into that filter. So if you look at the trait that's defined for the load balancer filter, that's not one of the parameters that gets passed in. So kind of the main bit, I guess, gets it, but when it goes into the next bit of thing, it doesn't. It's not there. So I still remember the code structure. My memory is shocking, but when I looked at where the traits were defined for the random and then implemented by the random and the round robin, that parameter wasn't there. So I'd have to change that sort of internal interface in the load balancer filter to make it work.
Yeah, I see what you mean now. I'm just looking at that code. Yeah, I would just changing the endpoint chooser to take in that context is like not a problem at all. Like that's completely internal. That doesn't even affect most of the things. So I think that change is fine.
Okay. But do you think do it in the existing filter then, or rather than creating a new one?
That's a good question. I think it's best if we write up an issue and then discuss there further. Okay. But I think either one of those could work. Like definitely, I think it could just be rolled into the load balancer and just be another option to be like based on source IP.
Yeah, and that's because again, I'm sort of thinking it's something that presumably is quite generically useful.
Yeah, this is something I wish we could be better at because, like for example, I don't know how many people have used Tower, which is this Rust framework, but that has like a lot of load balancing implementations that are completely generic and work for any protocol. I would love if we could, crypt from those and be able to use those within our stuff. It'd be nice if we could have more. Like a nicer way to do that.
I guess for a filter like that, the XDS API could feed in a routing table or of sorts based on for these source IPs do this or that, and it'd be a nice way to configure it if you want to make it nice and generic. There's plenty of other ways to do it as well, but that's probably be the most Quilkin-y, that's a word now, one.
Yeah, initially I was wondering, funny enough, I'm getting bad network conditions on this, which is just the thing I started talking about. Initially that was kind of, I was thinking of maybe pushing the routing rules into Quilkin itself, but I guess in a sense, I was thinking in the end, well, you probably want to keep Quilkin pretty lightweight. And since you only do this for the first packet in the flow, I don't think there's a huge performance hit in taking it out and just having an API call.
That's the thing though, right? Don't network. Sorry. I'm interrupting you, I apologize. Please go on.
No, go for it.
All right, so that's what I was thinking about. Like, if you're having a video call for 3 hours, the network conditions might change, right? I think you actually get more value out of pushing it in via XDS than you would from necessarily only checking it with the first packet in the flow, right? Because then you're stuck with it if the first packet was fine and the others are not necessarily.
Yeah, that's potentially true. I mean, I guess, we should have to think about other ways. That, I'm thinking there are other ways you can sort of potentially, push a change. But you're right. Yeah, you'd have to know which flows you were moving. So maybe having almost a routing table that you could move around on the fly. I think the challenge is that for a lot of the things you might be doing, the problem is the flow itself effectively will create state in whatever your endpoint is at the back end. So moving a flow mid-session isn't going to be tenable anyways.
I see.
So I guess that was more, I think.
Yeah, the only other thought I also had is standardizing around XDS and making sure that like the XDS is our mutation integration API means that we can integrate with a whole bunch of other stuff without sort of building out our own standards for that. If we don't have to, it makes things a lot better for us in the long run.
Yeah.
Well, that's just alliance and stuff, both internally and externally.
Sorry, that's something we retracted to Quilkin for as well, because it's like integration with XDS. That seems like a good thing.
Blame Affinity for that. He did all that work. Don't look so happy. All right. Make a design to get us. Should be a filter. Or balancer. So these are good questions.
It's worth mentioning we're working on solving a very very similar problem, but with a very different solution that might be worth touching on. So something that we at Embark want to do is also have Quilkin at various edge locations. And we want our actual client, so our game client in our case, but it could be anything really, pick several Quilkins from a list, whichever ones gets the best actual real world conditions from. And the way we're planning to solve that problem is with routing tokens. So in our case, we're dealing with matchmakers, but the solution does translate. When our game client matchmakes, currently it receives a server IP and a server port to connect to, right? Which establishes a direct connection. If you add Quilkin in between, what we could do and what we plan to do is to have the matchmaker return some sort of routing token instead. And then use the XDS API to give all our edge Quilkins an update on which routing token matches which server endpoint, game servers in our case, but the abstraction holds. And then the Quilkin knows, all the Quilkins know the routing tokens. The client knows its own routing token. And then it can talk to any Quilkin that it wants to get to its server, and they will find the way there because they all know the routing token and how to get there. That would be another way to solve the same problem. If you want to add something similar in your stack, that could work as well. The advantage there is that we can let the client actually measure the latency to the server and back through the Quilkins and have it decide for itself which is better or faster. And it can redo that every now and then, reach the same server, and still be able to route around any outages, even if they happen mid-game in our case. So that's I think, very similar problem with a slightly different solution that could be interesting for you to know about.
Yeah, that's pretty interesting because that then solves that problem of the state at the back end because you're picking a different path. I mean, you're almost building then a form of middle mile optimization. Well, you are building
exactly. That's exactly what we're building. Yes.
Yeah. No, very interesting. All the SD-WAN people are probably interested in that kind of stuff.
Nice. All right, kicking along down the list.
And to be clear, I'd be happy to have both solutions in Quilkin. Like I think they both have value for slightly different use cases. So yeah.
I give the thumbs up. Cool. Are we happy? Moving on. Just checking. Excellent. All right. I really wanted to get some. There's been some great conversation between Aaron and Finny and myself on scriptable filters. Actually, I should probably no. I did link to that there. And I just wanted to sort of highlight it and possibly get some external feedback outside of the three of us. The big thing that's in my mind is around the performance of it and like what our use cases are around that and whether that performance hit that we would get with scriptable filters is actually acceptable and worth the effort.
I guess the main question there then becomes, so Envoy has something similar.
Yeah,
right? Envoy's scripts.
Envoy's going to end up doing WASM, right? From all the research I've done, like WASM is the future for them. They're not there yet. You can do it, but it is a 30% performance hit from what Aaron found and from what they've been saying as well.
How big is the performance hit they have with their current Lua support then? Is that more than 30%, presumably?
Probably worse. When Fanny made when they used and interpreted Lua, it was like 3 to 4 times as worse. 4 times.
I guess the main upside they get is they need to do it once per TCP connection, usually, since Envoy almost strictly deals with TCP, right? It's HTTP connections, gRPC connections, etc. And like, oh no, I took 20 ms to initiate my connection instead of 14, whatever.
Exactly.
For UDP packets, that's a bigger problem. So that's indeed a good
Right.
point. I don't have any thoughts, but yeah.
But is it a bigger problem if you're only doing it on the first packet in the flow? Again, that kind of, the gaming sessions tend to be quite long-lived, don't they? Whereas unless you go to the world of HTTP3 and the rest, with the web, historically, there's been a lot of shorter-lived flows.
Actually, Aaron, you were doing this performance testing. Is it just on first hit, or are you seeing like the performance hit across every single invocation?
So that's like 30% overall, just like no overhead, just to initiate and run like one single WASM function, as opposed to just running an empty filter. It's about 30% more to run the JIT WASM time code rather than running the native Rust code.
And to clarify, our filters run on every packet, right? They don't just run on the first packet.
Currently we don't have control flow in the filters at the moment, so you couldn't say like if you couldn't write this you could write this as part of as a library. You could probably write this, but you couldn't right now in the configuration have like a if expression is this, do this. That's something if that's something that's worth having, like, I would love to know, because I would also love this for testing, because I'm working on testing Prometheus metrics right now, and they're all untyped. So if we needed something like a way to check things expressionally in the configs, that might be
an interesting ticket.
Yeah.
So yeah, my question here, I guess more than anything else, is given that filters run on every packet, if someone's going to come and be like, I want to create a filter, are they just going to go to Rust every time because they don't want the performance hit? And if that's the case, and Aaron, you're talking about how like, doing that custom work harder, but are they just going to do it anyway because they don't want to take the performance hit? In which case, should we continue exploring this space? But I do agree with the configurability and the extensibility of it, though.
Yeah, maybe I misunderstood something there, because the load balancer seems to be just on the first packet, but maybe that's in that sort of second stage.
No, it's on every packet. In the configuration, when it has you configure, that's like the flow for every packet that will go through.
Then why? Okay, now I'm a bit confused, because I can't see how a round robin would work on every packet.
In round robins, every packet that comes through goes.
It's UDP, which
connection.
Yeah.
That seems suboptimal. Yeah. Anyway. Okay. Yeah. I'd assumed it was it. Yeah. Okay. I'll shut up now.
Oh, please don't. No.
No.
Super valuable. I guess that a valid question then is, should we have a sort of filter that can run on initiation, set some things, and then be done? Like, is that a thing we want to support? Maybe they could be useful there.
Yeah, like maybe that filter could then be the one that you would script. So it could be the framework to do something on the first packet in the flow, and then you would allow whatever you chose, Lua scripting or whatever, for that one decision that you make. But it's hard to see, I suppose, what decisions other than load balance. What's the set of decisions that you'd only want to make once per flow versus the ones you'd want to make once per packet? I mean, load balancing is emphatically once per flow. That's why I was so confused, because round robining on every packet causes problems if there's any state in the back ends. Plus, the absence of an ECMP hash option in a load balancer was what threw me off, because that's traditionally what you do if you're doing it on every packet. But yeah, I don't know what other things you might only want to do once per session.
Other stateful things might include setting state for encryption. If you're doing encryption between two Quilkins, for example. It's kind of fuzzy there, though, because, like, let's say one of your Quilkins picks a different path towards the same end server. You might need to re-handshake there, so it's not quite once per session, but once per, I don't know what to even call it, but like, if you're using a stateful protocol for two Quilkins to talk to each other, the typical, Aaron, you called them UDP++ type protocols. I think that's a great name. like if you're using one of those, you might want to redo some things if you're breaking one of those and reinitializing it, potentially. If you're adding an authentication system, you would also do that at the start, have an extra authentication handshake. I'm thinking of DTLS-like things here, where DTLS has a handshake at the start and then a bunch of extra work for each packet. I can't think of anything else beyond those, which you've already mentioned.
So just on the question about like, do we want like Rust? Like, should people should we tell people to write Rust, or should they write a script? I think the main hesitancy that I would have right now to recommend someone writing Rust is that they would have to deploy Quilkin binary entirely themselves. I think if we want to do that, we could split out the traits that are required to define your filters into their own separate crate, so that you could define filters in an external crate, and then you could plug those in through like a dynamic library, for example. That would work.
You'd still need to build your own Docker image or whatever you're building at the end of the day,
you'd
right?
still, but you wouldn't have to build the entire Quilkin thing. You could have install Quilkin and then install this filter to this location, and Quilkin pick it up. So like, yeah, it's complicated either way. That's kind of my point. It's like either like to have a good way for people to provide custom filters. It makes it complicated, no matter whether we choose scripting or Rust.
I'm tempted to say let's not worry about it until someone actually comes over and says, hey, I actually need this for some real life use. Until then, I'd probably just not look at it. But that's me.
Well, one of the big things where this came up was because we've been doing testing, and like one of the the advantages with having the scriptable filter is that we would have to add essentially less cases in our configuration, because you could have a filter that is the test that runs, essentially assert that the packet is equal to this packet at the end of the entire chain. So this was like one of the areas, but like also one of my problems right now is like WASM is the best at this, but WASM also is the least convenient because there's no ahead of time.
Yep.
Like this is also the reason probably that Envoy is not using this. There's no, I haven't found like a really good ahead of time compiled language. Like if someone should make this a Lua to WASM ahead of time compiler, that's like $1 million idea. But right now, there's like, you would essentially have to have a build step in between that compiles the TypeScript into WebAssembly, and then you give Quilkin that WebAssembly to run.
The idea I had on the ticket was, at least maybe for now, given the use case area in which for testing 100%, like do we do something like a Lua, or pick a scripting lang and say like, okay, this is pretty much just for running tests, and maybe integrate it with that Quilkin test suite we were talking about, maybe in some way, shape, or form too, and then see if we find more things down the line and expand from there. Does that sound? I
think that sounds reasonable to me, except I wouldn't even, like, I might not even recommend documenting this, because the performance on that Lua one is pretty bad. I would want only us to use it, and essentially only use it as a stopgap until there's something better.
I think that makes sense. I want to push it back a little. Do we actually need this for testing? Like, for unit tests, we can just do everything directly and implement the trait in our test and have a custom filter there directly in Rust code, right? Since our unit tests are Rust. And for real world testing, I guess is where you're talking about it. That's to print debug info and stuff, right?
Well, it's more like integration testing, and also to sort of reduce a lot of the unit tests that we currently have, because we have an issue where we have a lot of unit tests that sort of are interdependent, and so that a lot of changes in one place causes a lot of changes to happen in another place. And like a lot of the tests are the stuff that they're testing are stuff that's only available in the public API. So the idea is to instead have the main goal right now is to have just basic input output checks, and then to check, hey, did this Prometheus metric tick up? That's like the main things we're going for now. So like I also don't think the scripting thing is not needed immediately. Though we can do those three with just configuration. We don't need scripting for that.
Yeah, I was about to say the same thing. Yeah,
scripting is like, but it's also still, like, I think it's something to keep in mind.
It's cool.
I think I'd sooner jump on like a debug filter, which you can feed a please print out this thing every X packets or something along those lines. That probably serve most of my debugging needs if I need to start dumping packet data. I'll probably start there as opposed to actual Lua scripting personally, because it's easier.
Also, scripting has some cool stuff that's, yeah, again, further down the road where you can have stuff like in combination with a fan use PR, you can have an XDS management server change Quilkin's behavior dynamically in real time using WebAssembly in response, where it'd be way harder to do that with Rust. That's like, you know.
That is cool, but also terrifying.
Yeah.
I was just about to say that's really cool, but I wouldn't actually want to have that turned on. I'm going to be completely honest with you.
Most applications would not want this, but I have a personal project that I would love to use that exact type of thing on, you know.
This sounds like how sometimes you get global outages on things. But
sometimes he says. Sometimes.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. All right. So, what was I going to say? I was just going to say, here, I'll share this tab. I'll write some notes in here because we're sitting here right here. Notes from community meeting. Purpose for right now is primarily a testing use case. You know, if I'm writing something that's wrong, by the way.
I'd say even that can probably wait for a significant amount of time before we actually... We can solve most things without it, as Aaron mentioned.
What was I going to say?
Yeah, we can replace
priority.
Most of the tests.
Yes.
Which is the main goal.
All right.
Also, just while that's on that screen there, I just want to point this out, but there's, I don't know why, but on 254 bytes on Mac, I can very consistently get very long delays. You can see in those plots that 254 bytes, every time there's like, it just takes longer if you send 254 bytes for no reason.
That's strange as heck.
Look at that. That is weird. UDP is weird, man. The moment. Those words seem, oh, that's huge. That works. Ah! Do those words seem reasonable?
Seems reasonable to me.
Done. Lovely. Only, all right. Wonderful. The only other thing I had was for these monthly syncs, I need to still set up the calendar. April, I just need to coordinate some stuff with you. We should also check the bit.ly link in the calendar description, which I forgot to ask you about yesterday because you own the calendar entry.
Yeah, I did all that.
You did all that? Oh, you're on it. All right, well then I will review that and I will send a PR to add it to the GitHub page. And so that people can see it that way as well.
I should check it off on the.
You should. That'd be good.
I am in love with the fact that anybody can check off things on
GitHub.
It's just so satisfying. So satisfying. Oh, but I didn't share it on the repo, so I can't check it off yet.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. I'll do that. I've got a PR sitting in the wings. All the links on it. Cool. And then once the recording's live, we can check that on the YouTube account as well. Sweet. And also on that note, there is now an announcement channel in Discord promise not to spam you in the users meeting anymore. Secret manager notifications. That's the stuff I had. Is there other stuff that anyone else wanted to talk about? Other exciting things.
Well, if there's nothing, I do have like I think to just talk about, but not necessarily like that thing, which is sort of related to that the refactor into distinct types PR. It also comes up because when we're doing the test subcommand, I have to add this ready queue to have it so that you could, when the test fires, it starts up the server, and then the test runner knows when the server is ready, and it can start sending it. It doesn't have to do, duration sleep. But like I finally points out, like this is a bit much just for one message that's sent one time, and we are also sending a shutdown sender everywhere. Which like it's starting to make me think that we should have like an actor style model where there are components that send messages to each other, and one of those messages like so shut down, ready, and that type of stuff. What do other people think about that?
Fanny, you look like you're thinking.
Yeah, I was trying to figure the shutdown. You mean the shutdown channel that pretty much everyone listens to?
But also like but also in the set, like as in sending the stuff, like the queues I have, for example, in the distinct types is another example of where there's that separation of like, okay, the upstream just wants, or the downstream just wants to send the packet and the message, but right now it has to construct the whole thing. Whereas that could just be a message that's sent to another actor. That's what I mean.
Yeah. I think like overall, like my thought was mostly, I think there are like pros and cons to both sides. Like if we have it the way we, sort of the way we have now versus moving to a queue-based model. Currently, the current implementation has like a lot of boilerplates that you mentioned. But I think that's like the lesser evil than tracking like how things are being passed between channels, how packets are being passed between channels. Like I mentioned, there's like some perf considerations there. There's also the fact that we can no longer like track in the code how a packet is being processed without like understanding the big picture. It's mostly those kind of things that that's currently my thoughts on it. I would say. I don't know if anyone else has thoughts on that.
I haven't dug into the test subcommand stuff yet, so I don't know if I have strong opinions.
It's just more the idea of, hey, we have like essentially a lot of dynamic components and you do change a lot at runtime. Like that's also the part where this comes in, is we aren't able to take advantage of a lot of compile time stuff to reduce a lot of our boilerplate, because we have to write vtables ourselves and stuff in order to be able to do everything. So like it'd be a lot nicer to use an actor model that is sort of designed to be a bit more dynamic, but can also be typed. I don't think, also to be clear, I'm not expecting anyone to be like, yes, we were making this huge decision right now, immediately. It's just, I'm bringing it up to be like, this is what's on my mind as I'm working on it.
I have nothing to contribute, and I hate the fact that, honestly, I'd have to see both ways side by side to bring any value to which one I actually prefer, personally speaking.
There's a you did Aaron, you did a lot of that work in the where's the PR? Refactor Quilkin's data pipeline into distinct types PR.
Yeah, no, it's one thing I would say to that is like there's like it does reduce code, and like if we actually, a lot of our boilerplate could be reduced even further, because we do kind of do half actor model type stuff for the stuff we do need. So if we move to like Actix, for example, there is like supervising, like we have a run prune session, which is essentially an actor supervisor, and that's like provided out of the box with Actix and stuff.
Actually, it's a good question. I haven't done a lot of stuff with actor models. Do you have a favorite, like, this is how the pattern works? And
Well, I just use Actix, to be honest.
okay,
like also that's goes into performance. Like they just seem to always be the fastest. They seem to be faster than using Tokyo by yourself somehow. I don't know how they're doing that, but like when you do the benchmarks, it tends to be that their actor model tends to be pretty quick.
no, I mean, do you have like your favorite like explanation for actor model?
Oh no,
Okay,
I'm pretty bad at that. I have to think about that.
yeah, I thought I'd ask the question just as a. Actually, that way, assuming if we decide that that's a path we wanted to go down, that would probably be handy to point to in our contribution.
Yeah, definitely. Well, yeah, this also sort of comes into the. There's another issue I made, creating an architecture.md because we are at like 10,000 lines, so it'd be nice to have a very high level overview. And like Actix can be more high level because you can say, hey, there's this person that just sends a message. But yeah.
Was that was let me know if I'm writing anything.
Yeah, all good.
Actually, Luna, it would probably be really interesting to get your take on that, given that you probably haven't looked at the code since maybe the beginning.
I haven't at all. I'd love to take some time to do that.
Just because you would be able to go, okay, as like a first contributor coming to the project, how hard, like I could do it. You could almost do that side-by-side comparison of, is this harder to understand or is this easier to understand? Which side, which, some pros and cons I think that would be really interesting data.
I'd be happy to sit together with Aaron probably tomorrow and do that. If you'd like to, Aaron.
Yeah, whenever you want.
Actually, just out of general curiosity as well, because now I'm just digging into this. You said would you think is your vision, there we go, there's a good phrasing. Is your vision kind of using Actix, or because I know you've done some stuff where it's sort of lightweight.
Oh yeah, we'll be using Actix. Yeah.
Okay.
I would not want us to build our own actor model.
Got it.
Not at all.
Because the PR you did was like a light actor model already.
Yeah, because it essentially it uses message queues that have one type essentially, and then moving to an actor model would be like, okay, we have a message with an enum. Like that's all actors really is. It's just you have two structs, each containing a channel, and they send data back and forth.
Got it. Cool. All right. I'll also do some reading.
On that note, random rant for today. Having been doing a lot of C++ lately, I really miss Rust enums. They're so nice.
That's some interesting stuff to check out. Cool. I am learning lots of fun new things. And that is making me happy. Oh, we have 6 minutes left. Aaron, did you have anything else? I think you said you had 2 things.
Oh no, I just had the one thing.
Okay. April, did you want to ask your favorite question?
Is my favorite question what everyone's playing.
That's your favorite question.
Sometimes it's, is there any dogs in the room?
That's also a good question. Mine took herself back to bed this morning because I got up early.
Mine's asleep under the desk.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's asleep in our bed.
I'm playing
have a
Final
cat.
Fantasy 14. That's all I play.
Nice.
I'm addicted. It's fine.
I just finished 12 minutes yesterday. Don't want to talk about it. It's not a good game.
As a just for curiosity's sake, why did you finish it?
If you played it, you know why I have to finish it. Once you played that
Okay.
game, you have to finish it.
Got it.
And just like how I finished it, I don't even want to get. I had to send people messages to get answers. Look, never mind.
As for me, I am forever the EVE Online and Final Fantasy 14 addict. I'm playing both a lot right now.
Once we get cross world, Luna, we'll have to, or cross data center, we'll have to
Yeah, indeed.
hang out.
Isn't Final Fantasy having all kinds of game server issues at the moment, though?
No,
They are,
they're not.
because-
They
Okay, good.
Oh yeah, they're running out of space. All the EU servers are out of space.
Yeah, but like when we say they're out of space, like as an EU player, that means I have a 5-minute queue upon logging in,
Oh wow.
and that's about it.
Oh, that's
That-
not too bad.
That's kind of fine.
Yeah.
The main thing they changed is they added an auto log out. If you are idle for 15 minutes, you get kicked out, and that turned the 20-minute, 30-minute queues into 5-minute queues pretty consistently, even at peak time, which seems fine.
Yeah, that's good.
If you ask me, at least. I think they're still wanting to add new servers though, because
Yeah.
the Blizzard shenanigans have caused a way bigger player influx than your average expansion release does for them.
Yeah.
So yeah, lots of players.
Very interesting.
And they're probably going to have another one of those when the actual expansion hits. So
Yeah.
hey, good problem for them to have, right?
They did have a DDoS attack like a couple of weeks
Oh yeah, I
ago.
saw something about
Yeah. If only there was a solution for something like that.
that.
Just saying. That was maybe open source that anyone could use. And
In their defense, we're not quite there yet, but I'm sure the moment we are, we'll have like 15
trying.
Square Enix engineers joining us.
We're trying, okay? We're trying. We're trying.
I'm just saying there's clearly a need, and so yeah. Anybody else playing anything exciting?
I've been playing a lot of Cyberpunk.
Is it like worth playing at this point?
I am really enjoying it.
Okay.
There are definitely bugs, but I'll put.
I refuse to buy it, but that's for an entirely
Yeah, I
different
also
reason,
understand that
so.
100%.
Yeah.
I really enjoyed it as well. Like I probably completed 90-ish%, except for one quest where I got a bug. But yeah, it's a good game, at least in my point of view. And I'm playing Wise 7 on Stadia, which is pretty cool. It's a pretty nice RPG game.
Okay.
Yeah, and then Destiny 2 just had a new season or release drop yesterday, which I have not checked out yet because again, Final Fantasy. But everyone seems very excited by that too. So
I haven't played Moonlighter in a while. I should go back to it.
I'm also playing Psychonauts 2. That just came out. That's pretty good so far.
Is that good? You're enjoying that?
Yeah, at least the first hour. It's pretty good. It has like a lot of famous voice actors in it, more than I expected. I really like Double Fine games, at least like stacking and all those old ones and stuff.
cool. Well, thanks everybody for joining us for our first post-launch meeting. This is the first one post-launch, right?
It is.
Yes.
Yeah.
No, I think it's the second one.
Time has. Oh, is it? I don't know.
The
Time
first,
has no
the
meaning
first
anymore.
public one. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
How many qualifiers do we need?
Enough so that we have a unique answer.
Thanks everybody for joining, especially the Cisco folks for being interested in other uses that we had not considered. So we will get recording up on the Google for Games YouTube channel. We'll put a link in the doc, and then we will see everyone again next month. Cool. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.
Yeah.